Okay, so if we're paying attention to what interests us, what upstarts our emotion, or ticks our thinker, or or fidgets with our feelings, or anything like that when we're reading, if we just kind of, oh, let's go there, let's pay attention to that thing, or engaging in any art, then we can ideate on the things we're interested in, and we can just let our body run, and we don't have to scholastically approach any scenarios. It's just a kind of a natural, like, what I'm interested in is what I'm going to pay attention to. So one of the kind of easiest ways to maybe do this is to pay attention to aesthetics, right? Which is, I'm sorry, let me use a better word, to pay attention to visual cues. And you can do that with movies really easily. Like I said, a lot of people just watch movies and they're just like, oh, I like that movie. I don't know why. But I'm going to show you a still from one of my favorite opening scenes of any movie. It's from Sleepless in Seattle, of which the movie, though it is well built, it's not one of my favorite movies at all. I barely have ever watched the whole thing all the way through, but the opening scene is really cool. And it's kind of obvious. It's striking. So when I see this, I'm like, oh. When I saw the movie first, I'm like, wow, that's striking. It's very full of intent, right, from the director, and it was very beautiful. And, I don't remember what I thought, but maybe I thought, like, oh, that's such a pretty scene. And then, boom. That's when you can stop the movie and think. You don't have to stop the movie. Side note, it's an interesting conversation to have where you get this, where movies are sort of on a different level because you don't stop movies, whereas a book, your thought trails off and then you stop reading. Sometimes you keep going. Anyway, that's a fun thing to think about, of the difference between movies and literatures and how we engage. Anyway, I don't want to do too many of those bunny trails. Here's the picture of the scene. Can I flip? I can't, oh damn, I can't flip the camera while I'm using it. That's awkward. Okay, so if you can see this well enough, let me see if I can turn the brightness up. Nope, it's all the way up. If you can see this well enough, after I explain to it, you might understand what's going on. The main character's over here and his son, Tom Hanks, and they're at a funeral, and the funeral's obviously on this hill outside of New York. Yeah, there's big flowers all around. The funeral itself looks very... Oh, here's the main characters are actually over here. It's hard to tell what's going on. And in the background, this thing, what can you say but towering and like looking over, like those are Sauron's towers, just this blanketing this funeral in some sort of feeling. So we have this dichotomy of the funeral, which is clearly sad, and you can even tell here Tom Hanks and the kid are doing a really good job just being sad. Just even from this far away, you can look at them and tell them. So you get this sad scene of funeral. Look how far away they are from everyone else. And then you get this, which is sterile. And looming and large. And then you stop, and then you think. There's a bunch of different ways we could go, and in future videos, we'll go through them. One, we have the aesthetic. Like, why does that specifically engage me, right? Why does it look pretty? Is basically the question you want to ask. Why is that beautiful? And, we can talk about beauty, but then more specifically, why does this dichotomy of this looming landscape that seems ominous and then this beautiful funeral, why does that engage me? And then, we can think about me and my cultural context, the meaning I'm putting on those things, and then, but then we can also think about how come images produce those meanings, right? How come they click these nodes of remembrance and allow me to ideate about, make me think that a tower is looming and funeral is beautiful, even though it's not, in a way, right? It's about death. Then we can talk about, if we follow that path further down, then we could talk about, or think about rather, why these nodes of connections that I have culturally to these objects presented against each other, why is that get my feelings going? Not just what it is about it that gets my feelings going. What are those nodes specifically, but the way those nodes connect, why does the connection get me going, aesthetically excited? We can talk about the director's intent, like what was maybe he thinking about doing here, and we can do that both from knowledge of his culture and also from looking at the thing itself, saying it's doing this and it's doing this, so it's making me feel this way because of this, and so the director may have meant this, and that one's fun because it's not, he may have meant it without knowing it, right? Because he has some sort of underlining idea about cinematography or philosophy that he has that he's not explicitly putting in the film, we can sometimes find. What else? Well, I had thought of a whole list, but then I went on that long bunny trail. Which, anyway, it's fine. There's lots of different angles we can look at. Obviously, we can think about, so here's a cool thing. This is the opening scene of a movie. We have the funeral, and we have the cityscape, right? So this is the first chapter of a book. There's no dialogue in this, but this one image, which in the actual movie pans, it sets up the whole story. And so what are we obviously probably going to know? Or guess, because that's important. I'm going to tell you why. We're going to guess that the cityscape the city is going to be a depressing place that this guy doesn't like, and that this death is probably going to be the reason for that, right? So, which is exactly the movie, or, at least the first half, but it seems like from their stature and the way this scene is set up, that this funeral is going to be the cause of them not liking this city anymore, and this city feeling like unsatisfying and looming to them. Or, it could be that the city caused the death, right? But because the imagery is so light and stuff, I would never guess it was going to be as dark as, like, the city has caused this death and they're going to go away now. I think they're going back into the city. Anyway, that's a guess I have. And that stuff happens in your brain. Sometimes you think about it and sometimes you don't while you're watching the movie. But what's happening is that your brain is making all these hypothetical guesses. And basically every story could be said to be a series of hypotheticals. Like, is A or is B going to happen? I think A might happen, but B might happen too, depending on. So this opening scene sets up something, and then our brain, says this, or this could happen. And then if this or happen, this or happen. So you can see how art in this way is very useful for the brain. That's a mechanism which basically practices puzzle solving, and so. And with a very real life bent, right? A movie about a very realistic situation. It's not just an abstract puzzle. So then we think about, why does the brain push us towards this? Is it practice for real life, or is it a reward for real life, or does our brain not know the difference? Does the brain think this is real life per those mechanisms? So that would be the second level question we would ask based on this opening scene.